3, 2, go. Sus.
Can't say that.
Hello, we are back, gamers, for another
Yeah,
episode of the GGA Gaming and Gaming Accessories podcast.
Wow. He did it.
Yes, I did. This is me,
No, I
or
said we did it. Shut the fuck up.
hey,
Sorry.
hey, you want to be rude? I don't know where my Apple Watch charger is. I think it's downstairs. Yeah, whatever. What?
It's not
Oh,
relevant.
true. Well, I need to charge my watch. Shit. I,
If you had a normal watch, you wouldn't have to charge it.
you're so angry that I have an Apple Watch. You're so angry.
True.
I have an Apple Watch. I'm not sponsored by Apple, but we might get sponsored.
I feel like it's sponsored by Apple.
Yeah, we might get no. Hey, how did maybe they're watching right now? They're like, oh,
maybe
shoot.
maybe we'll get the Amazon sponsor too.
Yeah, hey, use Amazon. No, don't not no.
Bezos.
Yeah, I'm actually the CEO of AMC. Anyway, so today we are going to get into a couple Windows 11 updates.
Gaming topics.
Switch OLED.
Yep.
Yeah, about to switch on to anti-consumerism.
About to switch on to another console.
Switch on to another console, yeah. And we got some. We were gonna tackle cloud gaming a little bit, and we're also gonna talk about the 2.0 Genshin Impact update. A lot of stuff coming from that.
Well, let's cover that last, so you can leave early if you want.
Oh my gosh! What if I want to talk about that though?
Well, we're going to talk about it last, so people can leave early if they don't want to hear it.
This guy. Okay. All right.
I'm correct.
So, hopping into the Windows 11 updates. So, I'm going to get some
I'm going to get really angry.
So, Windows 11 is going to require a 8th gen Intel Coffee Lake or a Ryzen Zen 2 CPU that has TPM 2.0.
Now, is it called the Coffee Lake because they put coffee in it?
Yes.
Okay.
So what that means is Windows 11 will be requiring a 8th gen or Ryzen 3000, which is what Zen 2 is. So like Ryzen 7 3700X, 3600X Ryzen 5, that kind of stuff. And those came out in, let's see, 8th gen Intel came out in 2017, and Zen 2 came out in 2019. That's the more concerning one for me, because 2019, this is just because Intel was ahead of Ryzen for a long time. 2019 is not that long ago, man. That's 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not in a shocking turn of events that is
20
years.
Wait, 23. Actually, it was end of 2019. 23 months ago.
Practically 2 years.
July 7th, 2019. 23 months ago.
2 years. Jeez.
Yeah. So literally 2 years. That means I won't even be able to run Windows 11.
Well, right.
Because I'm running a July 2018 AMD CPU.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high order. I guess honestly, like the thing that's on most people's minds, I imagine, is why really? Because I mean, I guess it's. I mean, I think you've mentioned a couple things, and I've heard a couple things on the note that it's something to do with security.
Yes, I had to learn about the TPM of what TPM is, but when I was in school, and basically what it does handles a lot of encryption and like password security and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Microsoft wants Windows to be very security focused, which honestly is a good thing.
Yeah,
that is one thing. Like if you compare to macOS being first party, being that the source code's not out there. Bill Gates did, kind of sell his source code, which is why Windows has so much malware. But being that macOS is first party, it's only on Apple hardware, which is why it's so secure. because just not everybody knows the ins and outs of the operating system, and it only runs on their own hardware. Um, is why it's so secure. And Linux is secure because it's obscure, more or
Yeah,
less.
pretty much. Nobody knows
Yes,
what to do with it, so they can't
like
get into it most of the
you'll
time.
still get a virus on Mac OS and
Yeah,
Linux, but
there's
Windows is the most
yeah,
used.
yeah. That's it. That's like it's the most logical target in
Yeah,
terms of
so
you can get the most people if you target Windows as opposed to getting like you know a decent amount of Mac users and like the two people who know how to use Linux.
yeah, how let's see how much of the market is Linux? Because Linux is used a lot in the server space. Okay,
Right.
Linux has 2.68% of the desktop market.
Yeah. Not that's not a
Um
surprising number, really.
yeah, it looks like OS X has 15.56%.
Yeah.
Meaning all the rest would 7% to unknown, and then all the rest would probably go to Windows. Yeah, Windows having a whole 72.98%
Yeah.
of the market.
70%.
Um, this
Crazy.
means if somebody really wants to develop a virus to like steal data, do literally
You're gonna want
anything.
to target Windows.
Yes.
And I guess that would kind of explain to some degree why Windows is trying to step up their security in terms of
Yeah.
trying to alleviate the fact that we're the most widely used, so we're probably the most easily targeted, as well as the most reasonably targeted. So it does make sense. However, um, the price tag for the consumer is quite high.
Well, looks like Chrome OS has 1.51%. Chrome OS is literally just modified Linux.
What?
So,
No, they wouldn't
but
do that.
Chrome OS was like, "Oh yeah, we have security." It's just like, "Yeah, you have security and you also have obscurity." But
Yeah,
security and obscurity don't correlate all the time. Like security through obscurity is kind of a bad thing because like you're not safe just because nobody knows you're there.
right.
However, that's off topic.
Largely, it can work, but yeah,
Um, the problem is, so this is going to be more of a problem for gamers than it is anybody else because and I say gamers loosely. I'm just trying to,
game.
people who are building a PC rig, this is going to be a problem for them more than anybody else because your $150, $200 HP Stream laptop, Intel Celeron, cheap, slow, just use it to write Word documents when you're in high school kind of computer, has a TPM chip and it will run Windows 11 just as well as it will run Windows 10. This isn't a performance issue here because obviously my Ryzen 7 2700X with 8 cores will run circles around that HP Stream.
Yeah,
But that HP Stream can run Windows 11 and I can't. I just think it's going to be a problem. It's another thing that when building a PC in the future or today, it's going to be harder. People are going to now have to figure out, okay, does my motherboard and CPU support TPM 2.0? Because if
yeah. I
not,
mean,
Windows 10 has as we talked about on the last podcast, on the
yeah,
first
warrant
episode,
on it basically. Yeah.
October 14th, 2025, Windows
Mhm.
10 is not getting any more updates. And the problem with that and is the same problem as if you were running Windows 7 today. If you were
Mhm.
running Windows 7 today, you are very, very vulnerable because you have
Yeah.
no updates. So
Mhm.
if somebody's
There's any
screwing,
kind of breach, it's there permanently, basically.
yeah, like Windows 10 just patched a printer security flaw
Mhm.
where people were essentially getting their, if you printed wirelessly,
Getting their printer stolen.
yeah, like it was a really big patch. Like that's why like a lot of people had their
Oh
Windows
yeah, no. I mean,
computers.
I remember we had an update recently.
Yeah, a couple days ago where it was a printing flaw where you could basically I don't quote me. Just huge flaw.
Oh.
People can get access to your stuff just by you printing wirelessly.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I'm not going to get too into it because I didn't read too much about it. But even then, if that flaw, say it's October 15th, one day after Windows 10 support ends, if a flaw like that comes out, Microsoft is not going to patch it.
Yeah, I mean, logically enough, it's just they said they want to quit with it, and it's. I mean, it's a reasonable thing to do. It's like a cost and balance thing if you really think about it. Is that you could continue supporting these old software, or you could continue developing newer software that will eventually at least net you some more money, or make you a better choice for consumers. Or
Yeah.
there's always an advantage to keep on moving technologically forward, but you kind of have to balance that with the people who are contented with what they have. And
Now
well,
the
Windows
problem
seems to be
is,
taking the easy way out in terms of just saying, if you keep on using this, we dropping you.
yeah. Now
But
the problem is, it's just like now I for sure, if I want to stay on a relevant, unless I migrate to Linux, but which who knows, maybe in 4 years, Steam. Like my only problem, I like Linux. I've used Linux for school. I've had to do stuff with Linux. If all my games on Steam were
yeah,
supported by Linux, I'd
that's
move.
the gamer decision.
It is, and I got in a debate or even argument with a teacher of mine on like my first year of college because I said I would never use Mac OS or Linux, and she said why, and I said because you can't game on that, and she's like, oh, I can. I play City Skylines,
City Skylines is
and
based though.
and it's like okay, yeah, that's one of the like that's one game that's supported by Mac OS. You
In
go on
honesty,
Steam.
probably one of the easiest games to run ever. Might I
Yes.
add.
You go on Steam right now, you can find like so many games that are just not compatible with Mac OS.
Fallout New Vegas. No, Fallout New Vegas from Black, I'm pretty sure.
Um,
That is
because this 95% of people using Steam are running Windows.
is that true?
Yes. The Steam user hardware said like 95 point something percent they're running Windows 10.
I guess it is something that they would know.
Yeah. Here.
Whether they want whether the people want them to or not.
Yeah.
You're on the computer, you have access, so
So now this is the thing. The Steam hardware survey also said that
Mhm.
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
All right.
Like what the most used CPU and GPU is
Really?
on
That's
Steam.
interesting.
Let's see, Steam
On
hardware
gaming.
survey. Because
Wow.
like
He's looking.
yeah, you
Oh,
can
what's
go
up?
ahead. You can go ahead and talk about whatever while I'm finding it.
How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. Genuinely.
Okay, I found it. As of June 2021.
Mhm.
90%, this is down 2.51%, I guess.
Last month.
This is what it's saying. 90% of Steam users are using Windows 10 64-bit.
Yeah, that sounds great.
47% of them are using 60 gigs of RAM.
Mhm.
And it
I
looks
believe it.
like the most popular GPU
Is
is
the video gaming.
the GTX 1060.
Yeah, that sounds right. The 1060 is a big name, by the way I
Yeah.
understand it.
68% of gamers are playing at 1920 by 1080.
Gaming. That's me. I'm gaming.
So it looks like most people are still playing at 1080p. 53% have above 1 terabyte of drive space. 24% have 100 gigs to 250 gigs free. All
That's
right.
not me.
So let's not go. That doesn't really matter. It looks like 38% of them are running 4-core CPUs.
Mm.
Either way, so it's not going to give us like what generation. All it says is Intel CPU speeds 3.3 gigahertz to 3.69 gigahertz. 16% of users. That's Windows only Mac. Okay, wow. I can actually see Mac and Linux user hardware surveys as well. Okay, but we just know most popular is Windows 10, 16 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 1060. You probably aren't if you're running a third gen Ryzen, so a Ryzen CPU from 2019, because these are very fast CPUs. You're probably not running a GTX 1060.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
most likely.
You could be running a GTX 1060. Who knows? You could be running a Ryzen 5 3600, but at that point, you probably have something like a 2060. I've seen the 2060 is a very popular card.
Oh yeah.
You could be running a 1060. You could. but there's probably a large amount of gamers who have like a
Gamers.
fourth gen Intel chip or a
Yeah.
first gen Ryzen
hmm
chip
hmm
and a
Definitely.
1060.
Definitely.
And the fact that 90% of people in this hardware survey, meaning the 10% go to Mac OS and Linux,
Yeah.
90% of them are running Windows 10 64-bit.
hmm
We're
Meaning
gonna
that
have to
they'll
see
technically, yeah, eventually be running Windows 10 11. Or, well, not Windows. Windows
if
11.
they can. Um,
Ideally. At
yeah,
least. Or, well, Windows ideally.
but with this wall, it's just like I know people who are like, oh yeah, I'm still running my sixth generation i5. That's not going to get Windows 11. I
Oh,
know
yeah, no.
people who are like the fourth gen i7 is like such a popular chip just because and it used to be a saying an i7 is an i7. It will
Yeah.
you give it a GPU and it will run your games just fine because when you're playing games you need a GPU more than you need a CPU most of the time. So like what are you're running a 4 core Ryzen 5,
Yeah, I think so.
but your GPU is a 2060 and
Yeah.
that's much bigger of an impact than if you had a better CPU.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, certainly. It is, at the end of the day, it is, or in terms of games at least, it is especially the graphics part that is, what is sort of looked after and what is sought after, I guess I should say, in terms
Yeah.
of, that's like, because I guess on the surface level, that's all that matters. Maybe not all that matters, of course, you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
that's what people see. When people think gaming, they think of the graphics. Because if a game, if your game doesn't look good, a lot, like, because as much as I am in support of, like, going on low settings for certain games and trying to, you don't always have to be on max settings, yada yada yada. It is the graphics are a large part of the game to the point where, if the game doesn't look good, it's while it can be overlooked, you just don't want to play it. It's like, well, I feel like I'm getting an inferior experience, especially with a lesser graphics card.
Oh
So,
yeah.
it's just one of those things where the graphics card is what is the big thing. And a lot of people are more than willing, I don't know if that's myself included with what you just said, but to sort of put CPU to the side, at least to some degree.
Well, yeah, most of the time you're spending double, if not more, on your
Yeah,
video
exactly.
card, on your
Mhm.
graphics card than you are on your CPU.
Right.
I love my 2060. CPU power does matter, but I love my
Oh, yeah.
2060. I think it does everything I need well. I like to see games at like all high settings. I like it. And I like also
Yeah.
having a high frame rate. It's like having both of those is just like, dude, this game looks great and it feels great. So, also off topic, apparently the most popular VR headset is the Oculus Quest 2.
Interesting.
That's funny because that one's the one that can run without a PC,
Really?
but you can buy the
Huh.
link cable and you can plug it into your PC and play Steam VR on it. But it's the one where you can just buy games on the Oculus Store and play it
Mm.
without a PC.
Is it inexpensive? Is that it?
It's like $2.99. Yeah,
Comparatively, that's pretty inexpensive, I think.
yeah, that's actually pretty good.
So that's probably it, if anything.
Yeah, and
But
it's got storage on board, so you could literally bring
mm,
it somewhere. You could bring
I
it
mean,
to a
that's pretty
party.
cool for what it's worth.
Yeah, and it doesn't need like you don't need to set up things around the room to like
Right,
for
right.
tracking and stuff. You can literally bring it somewhere with like say Beat Saber or anything on your
Mhm,
Oculus store, load it onto it and play it anywhere.
mhm.
And I honestly
That is,
yeah.
yeah. I will admit it would. Oh man, it's going to be really interesting once, because I still think this is once again highly off topic, but VR obviously somewhat is still a developing field when it comes down to things because there's while a lot of people, I mean, hell, I think it's if you were to do the a head tally, I think 5 out of 6 of us, me being the 1 out of 6, have a VR headset.
Yeah, I
So
got
it
rid
is
of
something
mine.
that's of oh yeah right. But still, I mean, still, that's 4 out of 6. That's still 2/3 for
Yeah.
what it's worth. Um, and not to say we really represent everyone, but I digress. My point is that it's something that's highly popular, but also still relatively inaccessible to
Hmm.
most, especially in to the where it has competent hardware and technology.
Well,
Um,
this quest is a game changer, dude. I've seen
oh, that's
because
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be I'm really excited for when that gets more dispersed. What were you going to say? You've been seeing
I,
stuff about the Quest?
I've just been seeing kids getting the Quest,
Right,
Like,
right,
this isn't just like before it was, oh, PC is the best place to play VR. Yeah, you have PlayStation VR, but like if you want real VR,
right.
you would want to go to
Mm-hmm.
the PC. Oculus has kind of successfully because think about it, mobile chips are fast.
Right.
Your iPhone 12 Pro Max chip, that Apple puts in there is faster than the PS4. Interesting fact, the fastest smartphone chip on the market is faster than the PS4. So realistically, you could think, well, I mean, if we put these chips into a VR headset, we could probably run VR games.
Yeah.
It that's just that honestly, I found that really interesting that the current iPhone is faster than the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's crazy, man. The chips are getting more and more advanced, and they won't stop anytime soon if the 2-year rule is to be believed.
oh yeah, no, they're gonna keep getting smaller and they're gonna keep getting faster. But no, it's like that's cool though. Being able to like,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
probably not gonna buy one, but being
sure.
able to just take a VR headset somewhere and just take it out and just be like, all right, you want to play? Like that's
That's what I'm
cool.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I think because we're basically it's not maybe not my prediction, but what I sort of see, especially with a lot, because currently I do believe it will things games will get more of a footing on VR as it gets more popular. But currently, headsets are like the ultimate party game console, really,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of because like you mentioned, that's the first game that comes to a lot of people's mind is something like Beat Saber, and that's perfectly fair because I mean it's a very entertaining game even just conceptually. But the point of that matter being is that it doesn't have like because if you were to stack it up against a game like if you were to compare like there's like those I think those things they put on IQ tests and shit like that where they have um like Candy Crush is to but my point of my matter being if you were to take like the game on computer that's probably comparatively most similar would to or the games on other systems that are comparatively most similar to something like Beat Saber would be kind of like party games or maybe I mean rhythm games obviously for Beat Saber, but
Yeah.
a lot of VR games almost come from that kind of arcade. I think arcade's a good word to the point where it's a lot of novelty as opposed to actual playability and real sort of gameplay length and things like that,
No,
or
you're right.
telling a story or anything. And that's my point. Currently, where it sits, it is especially being that highly portable, is insanely good because it's just such a because the nature of arcade games is or arcade styled games is that it's you can pick it up, play it whenever you want, and put it back down just as quickly without any planning beforehand, without any thought beforehand. It's just like, I kind of want to play that. I'm gonna play it. It's convenient. It's simple. And if you can take that anywhere with you, and it has that because I think the VR thing just gives it that extra degree of novelty that boosts it to such a higher level than most other sort of similar games where you still have like people. I mean, certainly there's some people who actively stream rhythm games, but there's still people who almost certainly stream stuff like Beat Saber consistently.
Yeah, because it's so fun. It's probably my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
VR
it's
game.
really interesting as well. It's just, I mean, it's just even just from a viewing point of things, it's just much more developed or much more in depth
And the fact
because of
that
third dimension basically.
yeah, I can with that Quest 2, not only can I take it mobile, I can buy the cable. Yes, it's an extra purchase, and I can
Mhm.
plug it into my PC, into
Right.
my graphics card, and I can play PC VR games if I want a
Mhm.
better experience. Say I have a high end PC, and I can run better looking VR games in the Quest. I can do both. That's cool. And
Mhm.
as well as it's just like there's a lot of people who are just like, hey, you ever played VR before? Nah. All right.
That's what I'm
Uh,
saying. Yes, as well with the portability. That is such an advantageous thing when it comes down to that because once again, it's sort of that novelty factor, and with the portability, it makes it so much easier for more people to try VR. And I think because I mean, it's sort of that eagerness to try it is because of how conceptually different it is to most other things. And I mean, it's you could almost go for a bit of futurism if you really wanted to in terms of why it's so entertaining, at least to some, is because, I mean, come on, it's like for years and years there's been sci-fi stuff made about stuff exactly like this. And it's,
Hmm.
people could see it in a step in that direction. Of course, most futurist people are a little bit crazy, but that's
Now,
besides the point.
Valve is trying to take it to that next step, like you were
Right,
saying, like
right. They're trying to
um,
go in the opposite direction.
yeah, with Half-Life Alex and
Hmm.
stuff.
And
They're trying to, and from what I've seen, it's good. But
right,
they do say best played on Valve Index. That's a
well,
thousand
yeah,
dollar VR set.
right, because you would need more hardware for a more in-depth game,
Yeah, because
or
it's got
better
it's got
hardware.
finger tracking. You can.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas the Oculus remotes are kind of like, oh yeah, it can kind of track your two fingers by just
Right.
you pressing them onto the buttons. But like the Valve Index, that's a cool headset. Like full finger tracking is cool, and it's definitely got a better display inside there. It's smoother. Everything's better. And so Valve is trying to be like, oh, we can do full fledged story games
Right. And I
on
will
VR too.
something that deserves at least a technical note is sort of that middle path, or maybe not a middle path, but an alternate way of doing things, which you've probably seen most. I mean, of course, most notably to myself would be things like Skyrim VR, or Fallout VR, or well, Fallout 4 VR. But and there's people updating games independently or modding them to make them like VR compatible and stuff like that. But that
Yeah.
is a path some people are walking in terms of you could either consider it a new way to experience the game, depending on how pessimistic or optimistic you are, or you could consider it as a cash grab in terms of the fact that, well, because something worth of note, especially on Bethesda's game, or well, not Bethesda, but the games Bethesda are releasing in VR, they are considering them separate games to the main game.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the really important question is, what will really determine whether this is novelty or a serious step in trying to, make VR more viable in terms of maybe not quote unquote real games, but more in depth games, is if once Bethesda does actually release something like the next Fallout or more likely the next Elder Scrolls, if they continue that support, if they continue trying to if they try to put Elder Scrolls 6 on VR, because that would be an entirely different process. That would be part of development, and it would change things crazy. Like it would revolutionize some things because it would that would almost require twice the development to
Yeah.
some degree,
To
because you're
be able
developing
to
for two different perspectives.
to be
Because
able
even
to
if you're in
just
first
say
person,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because to be able to just say like, oh, I'm gonna play in VR.
I know that would be so cool. But most likely, it would be probably alternate editions. I feel
Yeah,
maybe with the VR one selling for more or less, probably more.
that's really hard to just be like, okay, yeah, I just played like 6 hours sitting down. I'm
I
gonna
think
queue into VR now,
that would be crazy.
and to have it be seamless, it's just like, okay, put on the headset. Now I'm resuming where I was before.
I know,
Will
but
it
because
happen? Maybe in the future.
maybe yeah, but it is because the issue, of course, with that would be the fact that it wouldn't necessarily require it, of course, but it would incentivize it, and that would make some players feel like they're getting cheated, maybe even. Of course, that would be a little bit unreasonable, but I could imagine it. I could imagine people hearing about it or hearing about it on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah,
But
honestly. Huh, so VR's cool,
VR
but
is cool.
it needs more time for it to be
It
like
definitely needs more time. It definitely needs.
um
Something I am. This is a little bit of paranoia on my part. I will full well admit that, but it's something that I can't really overlook to some degree. It's not because I have considered getting a VR headset, but I
mhm.
guess something that is how do you say slowed me down in terms of trying to get one ever really would be the fact that uh, the health sort of aspect of things. Because not to say these things aren't properly tested, it's just that they aren't tested long term.
Mhm.
Cutting edge technology, that's the issue. It's cutting edge. It's going to cut you whether you like it or not, more or less. Um, but it's just this big thing where, because I mean, the main concern, of course, would be damage to eyesight, and of course,
Oh.
a lot of people already have retinal damage or whatever you want to call it, or
Has there been
impaired.
stories of VR?
I don't know, but I can only because that's the thing. It's still novelty,
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
and largely
HTC Vive with Steam VR has been around for a while.
it has. But still, my point in terms of novelty is not to say it's not being used. It's just not being used consistently for the most part.
Okay, so
There's hardly because there's none of those games that really require you to be on it for hours at a time. You aren't constantly subjecting yourself to
okay, you're right. Because I guess what we were talking about in like the more that VR becomes mainstream. I mean, having your eyes just it's been known if you're staring at your computer monitor for a long time. That's why like glasses, now have like blue light filters and stuff. It can hurt your eyes. Now research shows showing VR headsets can cause eye strain, eye discomfort, eye fatigue, and blurred vision. Can lead to VR for too long can lead to eye strain or eye fatigue. I guess disorientation, even seizures. I guess if you're at risk of seizures, flashing lights. Yeah.
That's more of a vulnerability issue on case to case basis.
Yeah, I guess that is the main problem with like very, very long VR sessions. And like when I did VR, I would wear my glasses in the VR set, so I still had technically a blue light filter in front of me.
Right.
Was it a little uncomfortable? Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
I
having
do believe
glasses on in a VR set is pretty uncomfortable.
I think there is something along the lines of, you might have heard of this, where they have like special lenses that that you can insert into the VR to work as glasses, more or less.
Well, I mean, just at that point, just give me contacts. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the Oculus Quest 2 is a good. We didn't even plan to talk about this, but it's honestly a good intro into VR because you can do PC VR. It's an $80 cable you got to buy, but I mean, hey, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah, you could just do Oculus Store. If you want to do Steam VR, you'll need the cable, but yeah, honestly, I can see why it's been selling so well, and I'm honestly a little surprised that the Quest 2 is the most popular VR headset on Steam. Well, I'm not surprised. I don't know. I'm just hey, it's there. I didn't expect it to be there, but it's there.
Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can expand it. I didn't know this. It's right above the Rift S, which is Oculus's like PC headset, and then Valve Index. So it's Quest 2, 31%, Rift S, 18% of users, Valve Index, 16% of users. That's pretty wow. 16% of users have the $1,000 Valve Index.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not. That's only tracking VR users as
yes
a whole.
I've done the Steam hardware survey. Basically, it will ask you, would you like to participate in the hardware survey? It scans your computer, sees everything you have, and if it will ask you like, do you have a VR headset? Plug it in, and then it will know what headset you have. Plug it in.
But I guess my point was more along the lines that that's only percentages based on. There's no percentage that says amount of people who do not have VR. Yes.
Well, it just says. No, it doesn't. It just says 30%.
That would be very interesting.
31% of Steam users that have VR headsets. 31% of Steam users that have VR headsets are the Quest 2. Or is it 31% of Steam users are using the Quest 2?
It's hard to say. I assume it's Steam users with VR in the first place.
I figure because if
32% are using it, and that's the entirety of Steam, that would be a lot.
Okay, yeah. So it's like 31% of VR headsets are the Quest 2, 18% is the Rift S, and 16% is the Valve Index. Then you got your HTC Vive, Windows Mixed Reality, Oculus Rift, the first one, Oculus Quest, the first one, HTC Vive Pro, HTC Vive, and then now we're getting into like iVRY, PIC Neo 3, Sony PlayStation VR, 0.18%. Why would you use a PlayStation VR on PC? That's interesting. All right. But yeah,
Oh, if I know.
I guess now that I know I can expand this back to graphics cards. Funnily enough, remember when I said I think there's going to be a lot of people with 2060s? The
Mhm.
2060 is the third most used graphics card,
Yep. No, that makes sense.
right under the GTX 1050 Ti.
Yeah.
Um, that card, I used that card.
Mhm.
Um, that card will run GTA 5 at max settings.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a,
that.
it's surprisingly impressive.
Yeah, and it was cheap.
Yeah.
Um, it was like $150 card maybe when I bought it. Maybe I
Hmm.
bought it for 200. I don't know. This was years ago, but um, again, if you're using a 1050 Ti, you're probably not using a third gen Ryzen CPU. Back to what we were saying, the top three cards are the 1060, the 1050 Ti, and the 2060. You're probably not using a high end like 2060. You could be using a third gen Ryzen. But for these top two cards, you're probably not. There's a lot probably a, I would like to think, I think it is likely that there is a lot more cases of people not using third gen Ryzen and eighth gen Intel than people who are. Thus, back to what we were saying, I think there's going to be a lot of people who won't be able to run Windows 10 in terms of
Yeah.
gamers.
Right.
I'm Windows 11.
I think that's entirely accurate. I don't. I mean, yeah, it's going to be. It's definitely going to be interesting. That's for sure. To see how that goes down, but it's going to take a few years before anything happens.
I think Windows to end off the topic, I think they should just make it optional.
That's yeah. I definitely do think the security settings should be a choice, if anything else. I mean, it'd be hard to say to argue for because I mean, while it would increase your security, that's a great thing, of course. The fact of the matter is, people either don't have the money, nor do or don't want to spend the money on something that they really feel like they might not need.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, 2025 being the Windows 10 end date, will I have a new computer in 2025? Probably, but do I
Yeah,
like the fact that I have to? No.
no,
If it was me, I already know I'm not getting a new graphics card. I'm not getting a new graphics card until my card dies. That's just kind of what I'm going off of. Like, I'm going to run my card, like, because a couple years ago, people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm still using my 560," that kind of thing. I want to run my 2060 until it won't run anymore,
yeah,
or
right,
until
yeah,
like
that makes
until
right,
I have to get an upgrade. So I want to run my PC for as long as possible. Will that be 2025? I don't know. What if my PC gets shocked and then doesn't work anymore? So,
right,
but I think I'll have a new computer in 2025? Probably. I think new stuff from a couple years back will be a lot cheaper in 4 years. I'll get a 2 year old chip. That's in 4 years I'll have a 2 year old chip. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll get a fucking brand new top of the line. I don't know.
right,
I don't know what I'll have in 4 years in my computer. I know I'll have a desktop in 4 years because I don't think desktops are going away. That can go into our cloud gaming conversation.
yeah,
But I know I'll have one. But I don't like the fact that I have to in 4 years. I have to have new hardware, whether it just be a new CPU and motherboard, not graphics card. But I don't like the fact that I have to have new hardware. If I want to use this hardware, I should be able to use this hardware. Quest Quest sucks, doesn't work outside. Um, you know, well, I don't. What do you think? Like, I just don't like the fact
oh,
that
I
I'll
mean,
have to upgrade my computer.
I mean, entirely, I agree. Is the fact that I mean, it's a very odd position to try and force somebody into in terms of saying that because while it is it's certain because you are right on the note that it's certainly an eventually as opposed to a coming soon sort of thing on the note. But it is I do largely agree that it's just a logical thing to say that you want to get the most use out of something you can before replacing it in any shape or form, unless there is some high incentive to buy a new like super advanced graphics card that isn't like $1 million or something. Like that's
Yeah.
the it's just one of those things where it's, well, if it's still working, then ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality. And while
Yeah.
that doesn't work for some, it definitely is the one I have most common adopted. It's just such like a weird thing to say to throw away something that's perfectly fine in favor of something that could be better, but also might have errors and issues with it. But that's not really the point. The point of the matter is that it's very odd to sort of have to. I want to move on software because it's a very. I don't know if there's anything like this with Windows 10 or any of the other previous systems. Is that has there ever been, and you might know this more than I would, but has there ever been a hardware requirement to install a new system?
Um, no. In
Yeah,
terms of something
that's
like
part of
this, no.
my
Um,
is that it's a very odd thing because it's such a weird bottleneck that they've never really tried to impose before. Because I still understand where they're coming from, and it's technically for the betterment of the consumer at the end of the day.
like
To but it is
people,
also kind of covering their ass from getting, you know, after a security breach happens because somebody broke into their software. This would make it less likely for that to happen, which technically benefits both sides.
people were able to run Windows 10 on practically anything,
Oh,
dude.
right, certainly, certainly.
Anything that not only was any computer that had Windows 7 or above got Windows 10 for free upgrade. Um, However, I've seen people run Windows 10 on really, really, really old hardware. Like I'm talking like Intel Pentium, like old hardware. And yeah, there's new Pentiums today, whatever, and you can get a Pentium for like $120. But like when I say old Pentium, I'm saying like old Vista computers were like, Windows Vista, like the before Windows 7, people were getting those computers to run Windows 10. People were getting XP machines. Oh, hey, I upgraded it to 1 gig of RAM. Now it's running Windows 10. But now this is just like, oh, you have a Ryzen chip that's not from 2019, or you have an Intel chip that's not from 2017. Sorry, no Windows 11 for you. It's so weird.
Yeah,
They've never done this. They've never
right.
done this. So yeah, I just feel like this is not going to affect the common person who's buying a $200 or above laptop, because a lot of the times you're not buying a laptop that's that old. You're probably going to the store and you're buying one, and it will probably be compatible with Windows 11. But in terms of people who build their own PCs and stuff, I won't have the same computer in 4 years, very likely, because I'm a PC enthusiast. I probably won't have the same computer in 4 years. My dream is to have a dream rig, like completely water cooled, like tubing and all that. So
Right.
I know in 4 years I probably won't have the same computer, but I don't like the fact that I have to. I want to be able to like pass my computer down to like my kid or something. I don't know.
Right, right.
And it's just like, oh, Windows 10, no worky. Like, okay, hey, who knows? Maybe by then, Linux is gonna be like chugging with Steam support,
Maybe, yeah.
because Steam has been working on Linux support. They've got this program called Proton, where it essentially can emulate Windows titles. So it's like you're running Windows drivers like DirectX and all that, but you're in Linux and you're running it through Steam's Proton. It's not great, but it's getting better. They've been working on it for years. So who knows? Maybe this is the 4 years that Linux is going to hop out and just say, "Hey, you're a gamer. You don't want to have to upgrade your computer. Come to me." You
Yeah,
know,
maybe.
because Linux is completely community driven.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe some gamers will just, you know, go do it themselves. But all right, on that, our second topic was what was our second topic? We've
We
been
did want to
talking.
talk about the OLED,
Oh yeah, the Switch
but
OLED.
we could also transition into cloud if we wanted to.
We could be quick on the Switch OLED.
Okay.
Switch OLED. If you haven't seen the trailer, if you had, they just showed a dumb trailer of like people like
Dumb.
dumb. I don't know, man. Like All of Nintendo's trailers. All of Nintendo's trailers are like, oh, look, we're in a coffee shop and we're playing Mario Kart with 6 people. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think. I
know.
mean, well, I think their trailers are very logical, to be honest.
No, their marketing is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's appealing to because a lot of the time we've talked about this in terms of how Nintendo is very lowest common denominator when it comes
Yes.
down to games, is that they are trying to appeal to anyone and quite possibly everyone.
Yes.
And that's how they've come to the point where they are, as opposed to trying to appeal to some sectionalized audience. They've diversified to the best of their ability, and it's paid off for certain.
I just think it's funny. It's like the Switch OLED trailer literally has a guy who like a grown man gets home from work, sits down on his bench in his hallway, and just gotta catch that Pokemon real quick, man. I know I just got
He
home from work.
does. He has to.
But so for anyone who's wondering, Switch OLED instead of 32 gigs on board storage, you get 64. Okay, so you can fit 2 AAA games, maybe not even 2. Who knows? It's still Nintendo saying you're gonna need an SD card, but you get a new kickstand. Yeah, the original kickstand was bad, but thanks, I guess. And then you get a 720p, still 720p. The normal Switch is a 720p 30 FPS screen. You get a 720p OLED screen, so you can look at your stuttery 25 frames per second on Hyrule Warriors with deeper blacks and brighter colors. So you can look at your 25 to 20 FPS. It will look crispy, I guess.
Your Dynasty Warriors clone.
Yeah, reason why I say that is because I have heard Hyrule Warriors is a performance mess. Like that game.
Not surprised.
That game is a first-party Nintendo game, and it's a very, very stuttery experience.
Didn't Strikers came to Switch as well, didn't it?
Yes, I don't know how that.
I imagine it probably has some of the because I think at least what I think would have happened is because Breath of the Wild ran fine.
Yes.
The only thing I could think of being really well, it was technically, but you know what I mean. You know my point.
Yeah.
Is the fact the only really issue I can think of is the fact that the sheer amount of entities that a game like any kind of Dynasty Warrior sort of clone would have is that on the screen at the same time would maybe slow things down a little bit.
Oh yeah, of course.
But but that's the point. Is the same issue would most likely be had with Persona 5 Striker.
Yes, most likely.
I hadn't heard anything about it.
No, this is the thing. I didn't
really look into it. But
it's also like your third-party games just are
right.
The performance just is
certainly. Unless they're indie games, really, it's
chugging. It's chugging. So people, there was for some context around this, people thought this release was going to be big, like Switch Pro, dude. Because there was like leakers with names to them, like, oh yeah, I'm a leaker and I'm known to get stuff right, and this is coming, and none of it came. There was articles from like the New York Times or something saying Switch Pro, and here's all the leaks, and these are reputable. These are reputable leaks, and nothing.
I will admit, it is odd because I guess the question is, how do you leak something improperly?
I don't know.
But unless you found something they were planning for the future, or unless you literally just made it up.
Yeah, which is why there's talk that maybe Nintendo was waiting and they're going to do another one, and like maybe the chip shortage.
It'd be really funny if they just purposely released the OLED just to say "fuck you, leakers."
But there is a chip shortage going on right now.
Credibility.
And maybe Nintendo was like,
that would make sense. Yeah,
we don't want to. Like, you know, PS5 and Xbox, they're hard to get right now.
That was a disaster, right?
Maybe Nintendo, because I've been seeing Switches come in to the store at fast rates, you know, very fast. Maybe Nintendo's just like, we can't get the hardware reliably. Maybe we'll just wait.
Get more Switches.
However, while that's a good thing, I don't think I'm not going to say that the Switch OLED is a good console. All because there's going to be a different one, maybe.
As nice as Patience is, it would be nice if they could just, give a sign that they're going to do something, as opposed to putting out something that's entirely subpar to anything on that you can really compare it to.
And guess what? Smash Bros. Players can get an Ethernet port on their dock because they took away.
That is another really weird thing, because that, I mean, that's almost entirely unrelated, by the way I understand it, to the nature of an OLED. You wouldn't at all need that.
Well, yeah, because the OLED is just the mobile switch.
Yeah, it's just right.
Great. So you get a new
just
dock.
Better colors on the Switch screen, basically, is it not?
Yeah, it's literally just a better colors on your mobile switch.
Because otherwise,
you get a dock that's a different color. The dock is still the same. It still only does 1080p to your TV. Only 1080p. It's like white or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And
that makes sense.
Instead of getting a USB port in the back, which was a USB 3.0, which pretty much anybody who used that port, besides maybe like some would use it for a controller.
By the way, I heard it. I was like the only person who used that port.
Most people would use that port to go USB to Ethernet.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, yeah, we took away the port and put it. Why did we not have that before? I don't know.
Personally, because I like having the option for a wired controller.
There's still ports on the front.
Wait a minute, there's ports on the front?
Yeah, the front USB ports. I'm talking about the ones where the HDMI port is.
There's a front USB port?
Yes, on the side.
What? No.
Yes.
Hold up.
Yes, there's side USB ports. Oh my gosh, it's a revolution, guys.
No, I'm actually looking at my dock. I don't see it.
No, there
is.
Yes! Shit. Guys, revolution. Ben just found out that the Switch dock has more than one USB port.
I didn't even realize.
And it's not the one next to the HDMI. It's two USB ports on the front.
Wow, that'll make things easier.
Yeah, that's why I kind of didn't understand what you were saying, because I was like, what do you mean? There's two USB ports on the front. You don't need
I don't even know.
The 3.0 port for your controller. So yeah, we should have had that in the first place. Now people can play Smash at low latency, plug into Ethernet and get your Smash Bros on. That's what a lot of people used it for. So you get that. But you get the same NVIDIA Tegra processor that's in the normal Switch. So you get the same performance. You just get a slightly more better colors on your screen. For $350.
Oh man, what a price, really!
What a price!
I want to spend $350 on slight improvements.
This hardware that came out in 2017, it's the same hardware. We put something better on it. $350. If they released it at $300, if they released it at $299 and said like, yeah, this is just going to be the new standard Switch,
the new Switch,
or maybe like $310, maybe $315, I would not have much of a problem.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing to do. I guess because it's just such a weird thing to say. Yeah, we're going to make a new Switch that has better technology in it, except we're not going to use that technology standard. You can pay for that extra.
Yeah. So it's
especially how minor of an improvement it is, it just seems like a logical thing to say, oh, yeah, this is our new standard. While you can't really update an old Switch, or we're not going to allow you to trade them in, if you buy a new Switch, it will have this in. Of course, that would create 1,000 issues.
Well, remember they did that. They did that with the red box.
Really?
So the Switch that is selling now is not the same as the launch Switch. It is they call it the red box Switch. That's what it's referred to. The box is different. It's covered in red. That's how you know you're getting one with a better battery. They came out with
right.
Yeah. They came out with a revised Switch that has a 9-hour battery life on average rather than a 5. So they've done it.
They've done it. I guess the real issue would become, I've said 5 times, but the real issue becomes with something like an OLED is that I feel like, because it's a very minor change, but it feels, I mean, honestly, a higher battery life seems more useful than slightly crispier colors. But, but it is something that a lot of people would probably say because let's say they did like a blue box or something, because, they started out with a red and a blue Joy-Con or whatever, yada, yada. But, yeah. It is something, I feel like it would be something that would be, maybe not divisive is the right word, but it's enough to cause a little bit of a change in terms of like, I kind of want the blue one, and I will admit it would probably cause, it would definitely cause a lot of issues, and probably has caused a lot of issues with parents. But I guess it's because I don't know. I don't think it would hold up stock, is what I'm saying.
They just
That would be the concern. Otherwise, is that
they just
would
stopped
people
making the other one.
right? But I mean, there would still be some in circulation, and no doubt with the red box switches, if they were to be replaced by these OLEDs, would almost cause if I because I don't know. I don't even know many people know about the OLED.
I don't think
I
so,
mean,
man. This is what
so
they would do.
they probably could just do it, but they're making a big deal out of it, probably just to make a couple extra bucks.
They're going to do exactly what
The end
Microsoft did.
resolution.
Or they would. They would all they would have to do is exactly what Microsoft did. Microsoft stopped making the Xbox One before the One X was even, or before the Series X was even available.
Mm.
So all of the consoles that were currently in circulation got sold.
Right.
So all Nintendo would have to do is just say, all right, we're done manufacturing the Nintendo Switch, the standard, but we're not going to release the Nintendo Switch OLED for like a month. All right, sell all your inventory. Because I'm going to be honest, at Target, when there's Switches in stock, they sell.
Oh, certainly. I mean, once again, it all comes back to that whole Nintendo thing where it is easily the most accessible modern, or quote unquote modern console.
And
easily. The Switch is just, I mean, the portability, the fact that you only have to have a little dock to charge it, USB-C. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and funnily enough, it's helping some kids. Their mom was like, "All right, you guys can pick out a game." One kid picked out like the NES classics of like Aladdin and Lion King, and the other kid was just like, I want this game," and it was what was it? It was rated T, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know," and the kid was like really young. And then he's like, "I want this one." And then he pointed at Mortal Kombat 11. And then his mom's like, "Is that one better?" And I'm like, "No." It's not any better than the other one. And then finally he picked out Minecraft Dungeons. And I was like, yeah, this is good. He'll like this. But either way, it's just like,
I play this.
So, back on topic, Nintendo, the Xbox Series S, which I know people who has ray tracing, has a really great performance. $299, $300, $50 less than the Switch OLED. The Switch OLED is still using 4 or 5-year-old hardware that was already dated when it came out. It was already slower than the PS4 when it came out. And we've got faster hardware. It's going to be harder for third-party games like AAA games to come over to the Switch because of the hardware limitation. If they do a new one, cool. I think this is not. I don't think it's worth $350.
Yeah, I don't think this is good.
If they said $299, just like the other Switch, and we're replacing it, it's going to be a new standard.
I think that would be reasonable.
Or if they said, okay, we're still replacing it, but it's going to be $310, $10.
It is one of those things that wouldn't really, because I guess you think if they were to replace it, do you think they would do the 310 thing?
I don't think they would.
Yeah,
but I think it's reasonable.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, the screen is slightly bigger, and
it is one of those things where, at least maybe more so on the consumer side than the developer side, a lot of people would probably just ask, "What's the point?" In terms of it's $10 more, you're not gaining that much. But of course, that would add up over time, no doubt. I acknowledge that and I understand that. But I think a lot of people, it is that because I mean, when it comes down to things, and I'm the same way. Even number pricing is always feels advantageous.
Yeah, I honestly think that it in the long run it wouldn't make that much of a difference. $10 per unit.
In the long run, though, I mean, I think in the short run it wouldn't make much of a difference. In the long run, it could.
It probably could, but let's think about something for Nintendo. First, I want to point out the PS Vita, the PlayStation Portable Vita, had an OLED screen. They're not the first people to do this.
Right.
But Nintendo, unlike Sony and Xbox, who build their consoles at a loss and make it back up in services and other revenue, Nintendo does not build their consoles at a loss, at a financial loss. Okay? And we know this. We know that the Wii U was not built at a loss. We know that the Switch was not built at a loss. The Wii U just sold like crap, but they are not building the Switch at a financial loss. They do. I don't think they need to charge $350 for this thing.
Right. Yeah.
They are making profits. I don't think they need to charge $350 for it. They're still going to. They're not going to change it. It's not like anything anyone says is going to change it. But man, is it a ripoff? Because like, yeah, I honestly now that I think about it, it's like, is the Switch worth $300? I'd
Right.
probably still say
I'd say
yeah,
yes. I'd
yeah,
say yes.
because
Is an
granted,
OLED worth 350? No.
no, it's still a mobile console.
Right. That is incredibly valuable.
It's still a mobile console. It's still I can still and like everybody makes this joke. Can I play Doom on the toilet? Yeah. Like I don't know. That's because that's funny, but like it's still a mobile console.
Right.
I don't think 299
Honestly,
is that bad.
I will admit, I really do. In terms of myself, while I hardly, or like mainly on occasion, use the Switch as a docked console when I'm at home. Sometimes I will. Of course, I did when Breath of the Wild first released, and if there's any other big releases on that are solely Switch, then sure I'll play it on there, because I only can. But I will admit, almost every time I go on a trip, a trip longer than a few hours, of course, I will normally bring the Switch
Yeah.
because it's just such a, assuming I'm not driving or anything, but it's just such a useful sort of thing where you can just pull it out, say, I'm going to play this for a few hours, and then go back to whatever the hell you were doing in the first place.
Yeah, I took a trip and I completed Sonic Mania after
Yeah,
that trip
right.
because it was like 9 hours there, 9 hours back, and I completed all of Sonic Mania.
Because
But
it's essentially a captive audience thing, and that's something only portable consoles really have the ability to do.
so 299 I don't think is a bad price for the Switch. I
Yeah,
do think, however,
three
it's
fifty is too
been
much.
it's been a while. It's been 4 years
Yep,
since the Switch has come
right.
out. I think we're due for
Mm-hmm.
a slight upgrade like this at the
It would,
same price.
yeah.
Because
I mean, now
again,
even an
two
upgrade at a
ninety
higher
nine.
price would be really nice.
Well, yeah, but a slight upgrade at the same price, $299 for this Switch OLED would honestly be really good.
Yep,
Because again, Xbox has a $299
it'd be
offering.
it'd be good because it would incentivize because the people who already had a Switch could say, I'm not too interested. And the people who are like, the big Nintendo freaks or whatever you want to call them could say, oh, I'm going to buy another Switch. And that would give them the option to, as
Yeah,
well as sort of
so
slowly but surely supplying people with better software, especially, if Sony Switch broke down, then it's replaced with an OLED. Extra bonus. That would be a very consumer beneficial decision. And of
it
course,
would.
that's the issue.
So end of the day, Switch OLED at 350, I hate it. If it was 300, I like it.
Yeah,
Um, because I still think it needs better hardware. The games are
certainly,
starting
certainly.
to chug, and it's starting to show its age.
Yep.
I've seen Breath of the
I still think it's
Wild.
perfectly viable, though. I'm going to be honest. I don't
Yeah,
think it's that big of a deal.
well, I'm just talking about in terms of being competitive.
Oh, sure, right. Being
Microsoft
competitive, yeah. But I think it
Microsoft has
does
a
have.
299 offering.
Mhm. I still think that portability is almost competitive enough, and that's probably what a lot of the higher ups at Nintendo think.
And honestly, that's fine. I think for 299, I think the competition with being mobile, I think that's cool.
Hmm.
At 350, I don't.
Yeah, I do think that's. It just seems like too much of a rise for, especially just such minor improvements and yada yada yada.
So, and even then, let's see, 299, the digital edition of the PS5 being, and now this is PS5. This is like high end. The
Mhm.
digital edition being 399. Yeah, that's an extra. That's yeah, that's $200. Wait, no, 300, 299. Okay, that's $100. $100 more. So now that makes 350 look even worse. To the fact that yeah, I might not be able to get one right now, but $50 more and I could get a PS5. A PS5.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
that's that mobile or not, dude. The
mobile or not, it has
PS5.
high processing power in comparison.
Yes,
High, high processing.
this is better than the Series X
I think it is because I think that's
or
really the weakness of the
not.
OLED is what you're doing right now. On the note that that $50 price raise for such a small upgrade is enough to make some people think, well, what if I just went full? What if I went full in on an upgrade? And
Because
that's probably be a lot like a lot of people just overlook the Switch and say, well, I'm not even going to buy a Switch then. I'm just going to buy a better console.
I know you use your Switch when you're on trips and stuff, but dude, a lot of the adult audience
Mm-hmm.
plays their Switch primarily docked.
Right? No, no, I don't doubt that. I have no problem with playing dock for that matter either.
Yeah. So from the perspective of okay, $50 less, I can get an Xbox Series S. $50
Mm-hmm.
more, I can get a
Right?
PS5
Right?
that will run my games at 4K above 60 FPS.
Right? It's no doubt just a better decision at that point. It's like if you're going to spend $50 extra on slight graphical improvements, you might as well spend 50 more on heavy graphical improvements.
And it's not even graphical improvements; it's literally just the display. So that dock still does 1080p, and I could spend $50 more, and I could get a 4K 120 experience from a PS5. Yes, it's digital only; it's no disk drive, but dude, the console's only got 64 gigs on it. Okay, I'm gonna have to buy an SD card anyway if I'm buying digital. All right,
Yep. Right.
and this PS5 is like forget about the Xbox Series S being $299 and it's already leagues faster than the Switch. The PS5 is leagues faster in performance. That thing's got an 8-core Ryzen chip, and it's got ray tracing, and it's got the PS5 is honestly at this point like a PC.
Yeah,
It's
it is on par with maybe not the highest end of PCs, but definitely medium to low.
yeah, the PS5 I'm seeing
Just for the sheer amount of customization that a high-end PC would offer, these really it.
I'm just trying to see like what graphics card you would
What is comparable?
yeah, like what graphics card,
Mm-hmm.
because it's got 8-core Zen 2 that we were talking
Mm-hmm.
earlier, Zen 2, so that's a third gen
Mm-hmm.
Ryzen,
Third
8
gen.
core.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a
Right.
faster chip than I've got in my PC currently, 16 gigs of RAM,
Maybe even high-end PCs. Then damn.
4K,
Okay.
NVMe
4K is definitely a
SSD.
big marketing.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's also supports 8K, for like movies and stuff. 4K up to 120 hertz. Performance target up to 120 FPS. But I'm trying to see like what GPU would you compare it to? I wanna get like what is the PS5 GPU equivalent? 27 okay. RX 5700 XT or RTX 2070 Super. So the PS5 currently, as it stands, is slightly faster than my current PC.
Yep.
However, um, you can't run Windows on a PS5. You can't do your homework on a PS5. That kind of stuff. You can't use
Yeah.
keyboard and mouse.
Right.
I'm not going to
Of
go
course.
on about what the advantages of PC graphical fidelity. I can change my resolution. I can do. I still think my PC is better, and I don't plan to buy a PS5. However, in
Right.
terms of raw
However, it's
performance,
pretty damn good. Yeah.
$399, $400 for because remember Sony builds these consoles at a loss. $399 for a 8-core and equivalent to something around a 2070 Super. RTX 2070 Super with that. And if you said, "Hey Garrett, do you want a 2070 Super?" I'd say, "Heck yeah, that's a really nice graphics card that can do 4K gaming at good frame rates." $400 is crazy good.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
everybody knows how they're just hard to get because like I gotta hand it to the consoles. Last generation, it was just like, wow, this is some pathetic hardware for what you're paying for it. This generation, the consoles are really showing, hey, we are competitive. This is really nice hardware. We've got SSDs. Uh, Consoles now are very similar to PCs than they've ever been.
Right. It is. It's getting maybe not scarily close. I don't think that's a proper term, but it's getting very close. That's for sure. And it definitely does come to a point. I mean, I know we've had this discussion a couple of times on the note that why not just get a PC? And it's a matter of convenience. I know that's really the end
But
resolution, but
now, dude, look at that price.
no, I know it is. It's also arguably a much better price.
My PC doesn't have a disk drive, and most people's
Mm-hmm.
gaming rigs don't.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot build a 2070 Super 8-core Ryzen build for $400. I can't.
Yeah, it is that. It's still. I would argue, while it will I think eventually it might become the more leading decision. But I mean, first off, as you said, no keyboard, no mouse. That's just a
Well,
huge
yeah, and
downside.
don't get me wrong. PC is still better. I don't have to
Yeah,
pay $60 a year to play online.
right. That is another big bottleneck, as well as just the idea of, I mean, the nature of customability or
Mm-hmm.
customization, should I say? To the note where you can change what you want, change your peripherals, change. Yeah, I mean, you can, but it's still like most of the time, if you want something that's legit, you have to go through PlayStation channels.
You
There's a lot
do.
more freedom when it comes to PCs, and just generally, of course, while you have to account for different parts breaking, same thing could happen with their PS4 or PS5. And all you'd have to do is you'd have to rely on PlayStation support. Not to say they aren't reliable, but relying on yourself sometimes just feels
Well,
better,
yeah,
to be
and
frank.
as you know, if you download a game, Sony's refund policy is no refunds. If you
Steam,
download
just
it,
the
no
platforms
refunds.
on PC, Steam is no doubt just the best
Yeah, we've
game
got
like
better
selling
sales.
platform. I mean, that's that's in comparison to most platforms anywhere.
Mm. Because remember, a lot of those deals you had to be a PlayStation Plus member to get
Right.
those deals on
Mm-hmm.
games, and that's already a $60 a year purchase. Yes, I think in the long run, Sony they know they're building that console at a loss because they're going to make it back in revenue. They're going to make it back in revenue. You're going to pay for online. You're going to pay for all this different stuff. I don't want to pay for that stuff. That's why I think PC is still better. Not only are we still ahead in terms of hardware, yeah, it may cost more, but we still have better hardware. Um, yeah, the PS5 is a little bit faster than my computer now, but I've had this computer for almost 2 years.
Right.
So welcome to the party, PlayStation gamers. I've had ray tracing, I've had SSDs, and I've had all this for the past 2.5 years. So welcome to the party. I'm happy you're here, I guess, but I
So I'm
still
very happy.
I'm not stuck to one platform. And also, again, I can do more than game on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a podcast. I can stream.
Well,
I
I
can
wouldn't do that. That sounds
yeah.
kind of stupid.
I can edit videos. I can do work. I can work from home at like a job. This is more. So yes, I'm willing to invest a little bit more money because it's going to be used a lot more. So I think the argument of PC being better than console is still completely valid. We have better deals. We have better almost everything. But if we're just comparing consoles, Switch OLED is terrible price because $50 more will get me a freaking PS5. And you know what? If I was in the market for a console right now, I'd buy a PS5.
Yep.
But I'm not in the market for a console right now. My
Right.
PS4 Slim is still running, and I have it for when I have guests over. And my PC is running like a champ. So I don't. I'm not in the market for a console, but if I was, I'd definitely spend the extra $50 because you can make the argument like, oh, extra $50 isn't that much on top of $299. I'll pay $350. All right, well then I'll just pay another extra $50 and I'll get a PS5 eventually. Because we're not going to
Yep.
talk about stock. We're just going to talk about prices for products.
Right.
Yeah, Switch OLED's a scam.
Yep.
um, and you have any thoughts?
I
Any other
mean,
thoughts?
aside from what I've already expressed, not truly. No, it's just I largely agree to the nature that pretty big ripoff. And as the PS4 is just a better option, or PS5, sorry, is a better option currently.
Or the Xbox
But
Series S, which is
I
cheaper.
still think, I mean, honestly, the biggest portion, the most the most rational course of action in my book would probably just be stick with a normal Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think while the processing power is totally most likely worth it, it is just one of those things where if you're more casual, especially if you're more casual, but even then, if you're just more busy in general, a Switch is just more convenient. It's
Yes.
cheaper, might not have higher processing power, but you can take it, you can use it wherever you want. It's just good.
Well, cheaper is debatable now that the
Well, yeah,
Series
but
S is a thing,
the
but
point of my matter, cheaper via comparison to the PlayStation 5.
fair enough. Yes. Yes. 300 is cheaper than 400. And sometimes a hundred
By
bucks
the nature of math, yes.
$100 can make or break it for someone, honestly.
Right. Honestly, that's the big deal. And I think 50 is just almost insultingly trying to walk that line.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's not $100 more. And hey, you get this
$50,
OLED screen.
half of 100, shocking.
But like, before we end the topic, people don't know this. People are going to see, oh, it's a better Switch for $50 more.
Mm-hmm.
Because
a lot of
remember,
people will most likely get ripped off more.
when I brought it up, a friend of ours said, "Oh, only 350?" And then I scoffed and I said, ha, "Only 350, you're right." That's terrible. And then I explained why it was terrible, and then he immediately said, "Oh yeah, that sucks."
Yeah.
Um yeah, Switch OLED. If they released it at $299, great. If the at currently it's trash. But hey, in terms of that one game on Switch, Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a cloud title.
Hey, there we
It's not
go.
even the Switch's hardware isn't even good enough to run it. Which is, remember what I said, that the hardware is getting too old.
Yeah.
That the hardware is getting too old and games aren't going to be able to run. I get the feeling that there's going to be a lot more cloud titles on the Switch. Because unless they update that hardware, there's going to be games like Call of Duty or something, on the off chance that they put Call of Duty on Nintendo. It's going to be a cloud game. It's not going to run on that hardware. It's going to be very hard to get to run. So on that topic, cloud gaming, what do you think of cloud gaming?
In honesty, it is because I have no experience with cloud gaming, but even just conceptually, it is one of those things that is a little bit off-putting. Because aside from the fact that cloud gaming involves relying on accessing something that you technically have purchased ownership to and yet you don't even have on a hard drive technically unless you're paying for it. Because most tell me if I'm wrong here. Cloud games or cloud gaming has been through cloud gaming services, which would be a paid subscription. Yes.
Yes, however, it looks like that in terms of the Guardians of the Galaxy game on Switch, you're going to be buying the game and you're going to be streaming it.
Because it's a very weird thing. Because I know I believe we talked about physical editions of games, just to some degree.
Yeah.
Or well, early access more than physical editions, but we touched on physical editions. And we've mentioned, physical editions, of course, are going out of style. We literally just acknowledged 5 seconds ago that hardly any PCs have disk drives, so there's no point. But and for that matter, PS5 optionally doesn't, but of course for much cheaper than.
I think we might have also mentioned that once that happens, companies like GameStop are gonna be
oh, they're gonna sink. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that is very odd because while I can go without having a game physically, that's perfectly fine. It's just the digital age; things are getting more, stored on the cloud. No, but it is very odd because once you download a game with Steam, of course you still need to go through Steam to play it, technically at least. But you still have at least some semblance of the game to your own. If you buy a game that's on cloud and their servers go down, you can't play it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just don't have internet, and it's one of those things where, because personally, to give a little bit of why this is especially maybe not concerning, but I don't know, it's not good to myself. When I was younger, we had very 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 basic internet, definitely not wireless, like a direct connection through like.
Dude, is that dial up?
Maybe not dial-up, but it might have been dial-up. I wouldn't really
DSL
be
maybe.
surprised.
Who knows?
Maybe it's something along that. I'm almost certain my mom could tell me. But the point of my matter being is the fact that the internet we had was not at all advanced, and a lot of my
Mm-hmm.
gaming was on consoles, but it was also discs. And while discs have fallen out of style for both consoles and other things, it still was that matter that even if you download a game, as long as you have internet access for a piece of time, you can still play it after it's downloaded. And
Yes.
I think that is such an important thing to a lot of people because for a long time, even when I was out of that phase where we hardly had any internet, I basically delved into a phase where all of our internet was paid. It was like almost a sort of like a subscription plan with most phones, except that was the entire wireless network.
Yeah, like you had
Um,
limited
yeah,
data kind of
uh huh.
thing. Yeah, and I honestly, some people still do that today.
Right. That's my point. Is that some people still do that, and I know at least a couple times I ran over the bill doing, trying to do either online games or watching video or something stupid. But that's not really my point. My point is, especially in stricter households, you're going to end up with a lot of kids, especially if because I don't think cloud's going to come to common. I'm going to go right out there and say that. I think cloud is currently, I mean, especially in its current state, is going to remain where it is, sort of sitting in a corner alone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if it was to become the common thing, you would just alienate a good chunk of your audience.
Oh yeah, and you're people who don't have internet because there's people who still don't have
Right,
internet.
right. hmm
Um,
That's more of a concern towards consoles, all things considered.
yeah, honestly, consoles used to it used to be you stick the disc in there and you play it.
Right.
There was no download.
hmm
Honestly, this can go into games used to not release unfinished because you used to just when you released your game on disc, that was
You couldn't.
it.
Yeah. And
And
while
if
there
you're
were updates, most of the time, they were most of the time, usually not game breaking.
well, yeah, but even then, you couldn't update your game on like GameCube, PS2 era.
Right, definitely.
You
I don't
released
have as
that
much
game
experience with that, but
you
definitely, I
release that
agree.
game, it's like the reason why like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, people speed run it even today because
hmm
there's so many bugs
The
that they can
older
take
edition,
advantage
that
of.
is, for that matter.
Yes, not rehydrated, but um, the speedrunners did have a good say in like what happened with
Right. Mhm.
dehydrated. Honestly, the developers were really cool about that.
Yeah.
They flew the top streamer, and he's not like that popular, but he's got #1 on the world records and
He's
stuff.
still loyal.
And yeah, he had input on like the game's development, but um either way, they speed run that game because those are glitches that were in the game from the start, and they are still finding new stuff. Now today, it's just like, oh yeah, we can release the game unfinished or early access, and we'll just patch it up later. Didn't used to be like that. And you might find this interesting to go into our topic of cloud gaming. Did you know that the average internet download speed ranges from 12 to 25 megabit per second download?
Dang.
Okay,
Yeah.
12 to 25
hmm
download.
Download.
And now let's
I think
see
I'm almost certain. I'm not.
how
I'm not sure of this, but
fast.
that's. Of course, we're on Discord, so this is necessarily accurate. But
Okay, for major cloud gaming services like Google Stadia, Nvidia GeForce Now, Sony PlayStation Now, Microsoft xCloud, you want an internet speed around 15 megabits per second. xCloud requires 10 megabits per second to be able to stream games at 720p.
yeah.
That's Right. You could say like, oh, 720p is not that bad, dude. If you go look at 720p on your 1080p monitor, 720p on a 4K monitor, it doesn't look great. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not great. It's not full HD. Okay, so that is 10 megabytes per second for not even full HD. And who knows about the frame rate or the latency? So the average internet speed can only do cloud gaming at 720p, and who knows, the latency might be crap for a while until I like. This is when I was first getting into computers. I was like, Dad, come on, our router's bad. No, it's our internet package. No, come on. Let's get us a new router, and I guarantee you it'll be better. We were using a really crappy router for a while, and I was only getting like
Yeah,
10, 12 download. I couldn't do any of that, you know. Of course, now that streaming's become such a big thing
I
in the
get
house.
7 download.
So yeah, I mean, I've used internet speed like that. I was using internet speed like that for a while. Okay, so I know how it is, and it because I was playing like Xbox and stuff on that, and even into my PC. This my start into PC gaming.
Right.
It can be kind of ass.
Yeah,
So
but
but you work with what you got, and then finally I was like, Dad, maybe we need a new router. Let me go do it. He gave me some money for a router. I went and got a router, and it shot up like 10 times. And I was like, haha, look,
yeah.
now we have a better package now. So now obviously, as I've told you before, because we cut the cable and we're only doing streaming and stuff, we
Mhm.
have like I'm getting like 600-700 download.
Right.
I could do cloud gaming. Do I want
Cloud
to?
gaming.
No.
And yeah, that's the fact, though, is that, or at least I believe that's your point too, note where most people could.
Yeah, most people could. And like even now, when I tried cloud gaming, I'm on Ethernet, dude. I tried
Mhm.
PlayStation Now, and I'm like, I can still feel the latency
Mhm.
because I tried playing Sonic Unleashed on PlayStation Now, and I could still feel. Nope, I can tell. I can tell it's not real.
Right.
I can tell that when I push that button, I can feel the delay still. Because there's always going to be latency with cloud gaming. You are never going to have no latency unless you are on the bare metal hardware yourself. You're never going to have no latency.
Yeah.
So I don't like companies want to push this because, dude, they're going to make so much more money. Microsoft knows xCloud. Oh yeah, stream from xCloud. Nvidia GeForce Now, Sony PlayStation Now. Everybody's getting into that cloud gaming because they know there's so much money in it. They know
Yeah.
it. So yeah, the average household internet can barely handle cloud gaming. And if I still feel latency, yeah, I I'm used to high frame rates and stuff, so maybe that's why I notice it more. Maybe your average person wouldn't notice it, but you're gonna if you're on the average, the average internet speed of 15 to 25, you're gonna
Yeah.
notice it, and it's not great. And I don't think I think we've got a long time before this becomes mainstream at all. But they're pushing because they know it's going to make them some money.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. That's. I mean, once again, that is the most common motivation amongst, at least from what I have seen, is the idea that this could make us some money. We don't really care if we're going to benefit people,
Yeah.
which is a shame, but should be expected.
And anyone who's trying cloud gaming are people who have internet speeds like I do.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll go try it out." People who are doing cloud gaming are not people running your 10 to 15 to 25 megabit per second download.
Right.
They're not. They're not trying that. I don't like cloud gaming. I don't like. And right now, if unless you're paying for it, you have to wait in line for a session on GeForce Now. Like, oh yeah,
Right.
you're wait in line. Your gaming session, your 2-hour gaming session will start once this guy's done. But if you pay, you can play now. I don't. Oh, that's. Where's the like? Let me turn on my PC, play for 10 minutes, and then leave. You know.
Right.
Don't even get me started on them trying to take exclusive titles. But yeah, if do you have anything more to say on it? I know you haven't said much.
I mean, I gave my initial really opinion is the fact that from personal experience, in the modern day, I still feel like I probably could hardly use it with how my internet is. But
That's not your fault though.
I know I don't. Well, I've never said it was.
Yeah, without
My
without
point
going
is that
into too much, not
right,
everybody has that or can.
right,
It could be
right.
the location you're in.
Yeah, personally, I'm in a relative
Yeah.
middle of nowhere, but not
So
really. But yeah.
city internet is always like city
Oh,
internet
certainly, certainly,
has
certainly.
fiber optics. Um,
Rural internet is always going to be very comparatively slow, especially if you're in a more isolated area.
yeah, and even my area, I can't get fiber optic internet.
Right? Mhm.
So my internet will only go so fast. Fiber optics from an IT perspective, it's like fiber optics is fast, dude. That is light going through glass
Mhm.
cabling.
It's, I
It's
mean,
very fragile.
it's very cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so it's data being transmitted in light rather than through copper, and that's cool. But I can't get fiber optics here. We can't get fiber optics, and I don't even think I live that much in the middle of nowhere. It's like
right. Well,
um
only because,
but I'm not in the city. If I'm in the city,
right.
maybe my internet's included with my rent and it just happens to be fiber optics, and maybe cloud gaming is, not that bad, but I still don't want to have to. I like owning my games.
Right. That's another thing. That's sort of like with that point I initially made on the note that it's very odd to just
Battery low.
broadcast a game to yourself as opposed to having it on your own disc,
Mm-hmm.
either physical or disc drive.
And people are gonna say,
The well
But
drive.
but Garrett, if you download the game digitally, you don't actually own the game, Garrett. You don't own.
Good way to not hurt. Yeah.
I'm kidding,
No,
but
I
it's
know,
just like
I know.
technically, yes, you're right, but
Technic-
nobody.
However, comma.
Yeah, when those servers go down, sure, but it'd be the same thing as if I took Wi-Fi off my computer and I ran the exe.
Yeah.
Or in the case of a console, if I have that disc, I have the version 1.0 copy of the game and I can still play it. I want to own my games. Plus, I don't know. I'd much rather pay. I don't like paying $60 for games, but I'd much rather pay $60 for games than $10 a month. 6 months later, I'm like, oh well, dang, I'm out $60 and I don't own any of the games.
Yeah. Right. It's very weird. That's like, I mean, that's about the long and short of it. Especially subscription services for games. Like, I think Game Pass is good enough, but it still is like an odd thing where it does give that level of urgency, which can lead you to playing more games than you really want to, especially, or sort of just makes you feel like if you forget to use it, then you wasted money, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a. I mean, that's more of a personal issue than anything else.
Yeah, I still
But
think owning my games is better than
I
Game
think owning games
Pass.
is better, certainly.
But
I've
I
reliably, or not reliably, but consistently bought games that I've played on Game Pass, though. I
yeah.
think that's what I really think subscription services are good for. They're good sampling.
Let me test the game. Yeah, I
Right.
bought Forza outright,
Because
and I bought
while
Minecraft Dungeons.
right, it is while it's you sort of use a refund policy of most services to test a game and then return it. It is definitely much easier to sort of say, I'm gonna, especially with something like Game Pass, pay $1, download a game, test it out, say, I like this, and I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, that way I don't have to wait for the refund to pend
Right.
and go back to my account.
Or get denied for that matter if you play overtime on accident or anything
Yeah.
like that.
So I like Game Pass. We've already talked about how we like
Yeah,
Game
we've
Pass
talked
before.
about Game Pass, but I think that I guess my point is the only reason I bring it up is because Game Pass in my book is a much better execution.
Yeah, well,
Because it's not cloud gaming.
It's not in PlayStation,
but it still does give you the service.
I wish PlayStation had a Game Pass offering, but no, they have PlayStation Now, which is still some titles, some PS4 titles on PlayStation Now you can download. But in terms of PlayStation 3, it's all cloud. It's all cloud. You're streaming from a PS3 somewhere, who knows where. It's all cloud, and I'm just like, I'd be much more open to your services if I could play my PS3 titles, because PS Now is even on PC.
Yeah,
you can stream.
Right.
You can't download. If you had a PS4 or a PS5, you could download titles, but in PS3 though, you still have to stream whether on a PlayStation or you're on PC. I want to be able to have PS3 titles that I can, like, Xbox is getting so good on that, where they kind of, into the Xbox life, they said, okay, all these 360 titles are going to be playable now because we say so. Oh, hey, we got it working. We basically the Xbox One, when you put a 360 disc, it would literally just boot up a 360 emulator. it would literally show it, and it would show all of the 360 like menus and stuff. They can do it, but Sony's better now. The PS4 was because the PS3, the original PS3 could play PS2 and PS1, and then when the next model came out, it just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then when the PS4 came out, it was just like, nope, no PS3 backwards compatibility. Now the PS5 can play PS4 discs, so that's fine. Your entire library, which is good. If I have like 100 plus PS4 games, I want them to be playable on my PS5. Because these games are still relatively new. But that's besides the point. Cloud gaming bad. I want to own my games. That's the long and short of it. But yeah, do you have anything more to say, or I feel like I'm talking like way?
No. I mean, I've said what I wanted to say.
All right. Well, we're almost at the time here, but we can go over
real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
All right, guys. For those who don't like Genshin Impact, it's been nice knowing you, but hasta la vista. Vita saying. We're actually going to talk about it on the podcast now. We're
Genshin Impact
jumping off this relative cliff. But
Genshin Impact version 2.0.
So Genshin Impact hit gacha game from developer MiHoYo.
Yes, I have the trailer pulled up. So we can.
So 2.0, big thing. If that wasn't clear, a 2.0 for any game is a huge thing. But especially with Genshin and the way they've been doing their updates, this is much bigger than any other update that they have made so far. As while there was Dragonspire, which they had a new area, and more recently there was Golden Apple Archipelago, or whatever that event was called. Help me. But
this is the biggest update.
This is the biggest update, basically, yes. And it also does give more insight as to the game's sort of relative world lore, as well as giving players new areas to explore, which in my book especially was one of the most exciting, if not entertaining, part of the games, or part of the game.
And remember, Inazuma, the new area that's open.
The Breath of the Wild aspect, if you will.
Yeah, the new area that's open. This is a whole new area. This is going to be...
It's huge.
Remember, this place was locked for some
reason. At least assumedly it's huge.
They put in the story that the place was like, nobody could enter.
Entry barred, maybe.
Of course, you could say like, well, that's just because they were working on it. But why was it locked? Why is there these armies that we're seeing in the trailer? Like, what's going on?
There's also like the general from the archipelago.
Yeah,
and they've given some insight as to sort of there's like a little bit of a I guess this is getting into talking about the trailer in full. Aside from the more character focused parts and other stuff like that, the main story of Inazuma, from what I could gather, was that basically the Electro Archon is a tyrant, more or less, and has been stealing people's visions, or at least there's some power. It may not be the Archon.
Something is removing people's visions,
and it's not like a supernatural entity. By the way, I understand it. It's like a governing force, and that basically they've been revoking visions, taking visions away from vision users, and visions are your little accessories that give you all your power, more or less. And that makes people feel real bad when they ain't got no vision. Makes them feel real sad and yada yada yada. But
there's
point of that matter being there's a resistance. It's a revolution, and I think it's while trite. I mean, revolution's literally Star Wars. That's a revolution. Biggest thing ever, practically.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be hard to say like maybe this is a revolution against the Electro Archon.
It is most likely, or something like that, or at least whoever's taking away the visions is not your ally to begin with. And this would be interesting, especially if it's against the Electro Archon, because while you start off on, pretty, because it's sort of you started off on friendly terms with that funny-looking femboy, and with Zhongli, then you're sort of like a very sort of neutral party, not really discovering his identity, of course, but it's a little bit plainly written. But with this, however, it would start you in direct opposition to the Archon, which would be definitely a change of pace.
So, looking at the chat real quick, we normally don't address chat too much, but the Archon is trying to take everyone's vision so she can have full control.
Oh, Oh, right. And there's also something along the lines of it being a land of immortality or eternity or something like that, wasn't there?
Yes.
Because Mondstadt's freedom, Leeway's contracts. This is, I mean, freedom and contracts are definitely a different. Immortality is a change of pace from both of those.
Well, admittedly, I don't think Zhongli is a very good guy in the first place.
I mean, he's like a. I mean, my Zhongli review, real quick, is the way I feel about him is he's in the past pretty bad guy, but now he's like trying to be decent at least. So like, I mean, he's willing to give up his power. You can hardly call him a bad person.
Yeah, he wants
Most
the people to be.
Most people who need power, or well, to be evil, you kind of need power to exert your will over others or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the contract, he said he would give it up. And
Great, and he might even feel like he's not worthy of such power after what he did. But
and even then, in terms of the Lord, Venti is seen to be a good. He freed people from slavery.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that cool, but
I think he fucking sucks.
Yeah, there is definitely going to be archons who are evil. They all went to war.
Right. Big war.
So she's probably going to be some, like,
But I do think it's, my point of my matter being, is that throughout the game, you haven't been directly opposed to the Archon before.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely going to be interesting. Almost all of your opposition has come from an outside force. But this time, it's going to be your direct objective is your opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's really interesting.
So now I guess...
you want to talk about the characters?
We could go into... So the trailer shows Inazuma.
Inazuma looks great. I mean, Genshin Impact is, regardless of what detractors may say, a very pretty-looking game. Maybe a little bit on the Electro Traveler. That, I mean, that kind of had to come with it, really. But it is... I do like Electro Traveler, for that matter. Electro is personally one of my favorite elements. What's up?
We're gonna have another statue to find orbs for.
Mm-hmm. More Anemoculus, or probably Electroculus, or whatever the hell they're gonna call it.
Means we're gonna get more stamina, probably. That's good.
I will admit, that's one of the things I'm the most excited for.
Yeah, just exploring. I want to explore a new area.
That as well, but I want to have that. I want to have that 3-tier stamina bar, baby.
Yeah. So, hopping into co-op, I'm definitely gonna want to hop into co-op and just explore the area once it comes out.
Yeah, it's good, man.
So let's see. They showed Electro Traveler. They showed like visions fading, and we talked to some people.
Big revolutionary camp, bunch of islands. There was that city that looked like it was all piled up on each other, sort of looks like it was a little bit at risk, maybe not at risk of falling over, but a little bit perilous to be on. But that looked really cool. A lot. I mean, for those who are out of the loop, a lot of the city design in Genshin is really based on pre-existing cultures in the not modern world, just in the world. Mondstadt's pretty obviously in the way they try to intersperse random German words in it. He's pretty European to German. Leeway is probably most similar to China, I think, especially with like the karsts. That's like a geographical feature that I'm pretty sure is only found in China. I'd never heard of it before. I mean, honestly, it's like one of my favorite, but not to rant about that. And then Inazuma, being especially an island nation, should be noted as having some similarities to Japan. And a lot of the architecture looks,
buildings,
looks traditionally Japanese. And while it's sort of maybe not writing on the wall, but sort of like something that was going to happen eventually, it doesn't look like it's being executed poorly, is what I can say.
No, they're doing a great job with the visuals.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things that would be hard to do poorly, but I will admit, they've done a very good job in terms of representing cultures so far. Because while it's not, most of the cities have their own culture. It'd be hard to consider Germany. Well, Germany kind of had, I mean, that's like a whole other thing. But point of my matter being, they've done a very good job, especially with architecture so far. In terms of, because a lot of the ways those buildings look in Mondstadt look very German. I can't say too much for Chinese architecture, but it definitely sort of does, because the architecture in Leeway does look inherently different from that in Inazuma.
Mhm.
but still similar to some small degree. But
If you want to see what we're talking about, the version 2.0,
yeah,
just look up the
there's a big
Genshin.
live stream.
Yeah,
There's also a
Genshin
little trailer.
Impact version 2.0 trailer, the immovable god and eternal. Yeah, just go watch the trailer. You'll see what we mean. One good thing is they're actually showing what you'll see in game. This isn't
Yeah.
pre-rendered like
I'll give him
CGI.
a lot of credit for that. That's good.
We saw immediately, minute 30 seconds in, we see characters that we aren't getting yet. We see a pink-haired girl. We see a guy with a fire vision. And then we see Ayaka. We see gameplay preview for Ayaka.
You also see some gameplay preview for the firework chick and the ninja.
So to tackle Ayaka real quick, I like Ayaka. I think Ayaka's katana moveset is cool.
Or not Weiss Schwartz.
What?
She looks like Weiss from that funny show.
Oh, from Ruby? Yeah.
Yeah.
But she has that katana, and she does the funny thing where you sheath it, and then there's like an effect that goes on.
It is funny. Cool. It's very funny.
Am I gonna pull for her? Probably not. I pulled for Eula. I have Eula at a very, very good Eula at that. Because I spent no money on Eula or anything. I just don't think I'm gonna want another cryo character. But she does look really fun. I don't know. I'm honestly debating. Like I kind of want Ayaka as well as Yoimiya.
I don't know.
But I know
I might do like a couple pulls on the banner just to see if I get lucky, or quote unquote. But I probably should save up for the next banner.
I'm not gonna buy any Primo Gems. However,
I mean, personally, I never would.
Yeah, but they both look fun.
They do look good. I will admit. I mean, in honesty, Genshin does have pretty good characters as a whole, in terms of ability sets and stuff like that. Because while the customization of abilities is a little lacking, it's usually most characters usually hardly feel similar. Well, they're sort of like archetypes in terms of healers, shields, and I guess just generally damage after that. They all sort of feel because just to use an example, this is 2 4-star characters even. 2 characters I use pretty often, Zinyan and Diona. Diona's shield is, if you hold it down, it gets stronger as well as shoots out projectiles.
Yeah, the strength of the shield is based on how many of your projectiles hit the target.
Right. And I think as well, but my point is that how Zinyan's shield work is entirely different. Is that it's a single button press, and your shield can take on different effects depending on how many people you hit with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've done a very good job of keeping sort of diversity in similarity.
I like Zhongli's shield. Zhongli's shield. Yeah. It's like you hold your skill, you get your shield, and it's just there. Like it's just a raw HP based shield.
Not bad, I will say. It doesn't sound bad at least.
It sticks around for a while. And the only problem is, what makes Diona's appealing is Diona's can go over the whole party. If you want Zhongli's to protect the whole party, you need Constellation 2, and that's a 5-star, a limited 5-star. That's not that easy to attain.
You do also need Constellation 2 for Diona's to cover more than one person.
Yeah, but it's
much easier, yes.
They've given out Diona for free. Because mine's like C4 or 5 maybe.
Yeah, I'm somewhere up there as well, and I hardly ever play, so... I got some
every character's different.
Really odd Diona luck though, but that's besides the point.
They're doing a great job at making the characters abilities. No character plays the same. That's why I'm really excited for Yoimiya. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Fireworks and Archer, that's just cool. The effects look really cool. Amber, because honestly, if Amber wasn't trash, I'd use Amber. But her abilities just aren't.
I think I should note on that funny ninja child looks okay. I mean, maybe not okay. I think it's going to be much more funny than anything else. Just the fact to see a child wielding a greatsword.
Yeah, that's going to be.
They didn't really show any of her greatsword gameplay, which was weird. They only showed her using her abilities.
I'm sure the longer live stream.
Certainly.
Yeah, the live streams, not the trailer, shows
a lot more. Shows in very in depth.
Yes. So it's out there.
It's out there. They also put some new events. They showed some new events that they were going to do on the trailer.
Yes, they're bringing
and new weapons.
They are bringing back
Oh
Theater
yeah, the tower
Mechanicus.
defense.
I'm so
more
happy.
Tower defense. Cry about it.
I'm so happy they're bringing back
tower
Theater
defense
Mechanicus.
haters, whoever you may be.
I am going to play the hell out of Theater Mechanicus. That was so fun. And Leyline Overflow is coming back, so double drops on your ley lines. And then I guess we can tackle. I think I heard something that the new 4-star weapons there's going to be new craftable ones. I heard that the 4-star weapons are going to be craftable.
I mean, it does make sense because both of the 4-star weapon sets that are craftable currently are in reference to both Mondstadt and Leeway.
Yes.
Because I think there's the Black Cliff Forge or whatever it's called. That's somewhere down in Leeway, or at least was. It's it's nice. It's a little bit extra world building, and I think it goes a long way.
Yes. So these weapons are going to be craftable. These 4 stars, and we have 2 5-star weapons.
Which is always nice because more craftable 4 stars means more weapon accessibility. Because a lot of the time, pulled 4 stars are, at least in my book, less good than the craftable 4 stars. There's some exceptions to the rule, but
the craftable 4 stars are just very oh yeah, this is useful. Attack percentage.
A lot of the time, yeah, I think a lot of the time the pulled 4 stars are very random in that format, and for that matter, very situational.
Yeah, you got to be looking for a certain one.
Quick vein of Hydro and Electro, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but new artifacts as well.
Yeah, new artifacts. Those sets look pretty good, man. I will say, we looked at the one that had the energy recharge, and then just basically a supercharged ult based on your energy recharge percentage. That sounds really cool, especially for
a lot of the times
characters.
They release sets coinciding with new characters. But honestly, this energy recharge
that could work for anyone, I believe.
I honestly, because Mona gets a hydro damage bonus based
Mona
on
from Persona 5?
Yes. Based on her energy recharge. So if you're doing 2-piece set energy recharge plus 20%, and then
her ult is a bomb, sort of, right? Or well, not a bomb, but a damage, right?
Yes, her ult puts a marker on someone, and then once you do an elemental reaction with that marker, so combine it with Hydro, it will do a Hydro explosion. Increases elemental burst by 25% of energy recharge with a maximum of 75% damage bonus.
Of course, Mona is a 5-star, but that's besides the point, is that he could still be very good.
Yes. With anyone who, Bennett does really high energy recharge. Of course, you're not doing too much damage with his ult. But, this could be with anyone. You could, not anyone, because, again, it is bonus damage, so maybe not your support stuff. But, Jean, again, being a 5-star, but Jean has pretty high Anemo burst damage when you use her ult, along with her heals. So, honestly, energy recharge, that could be good for your support and for your Anemo damage. For your swirl damage and stuff. Next set, 18% plus attack for a 2-piece. I could see people already stacking that and then, gladiators. So you just get 2 18% attacks. Maybe not going to be the best, but 4-piece, when casting elemental skill, which is your E, if character has 15 or more energy, they lose 15 energy, and normal, charged, and plunging attacks damage increased by 50%. So this would be more for a character who maybe you're not using their ult all too much. Which still, I think that's 50% damage bonus.
I really like that set. That seems like I'm going to probably have some fun with that one.
Yeah, and
because I just think it's really nice, especially for, I think we were talking about it in Slight, that shield users will get, aside from there's a shield set that exists, increases shield strength. That's the easiest obvious choice. However, if you're not as worried about shield strength as you are worried about just having a shield up, having a shield that increases your normal damage could be pretty damn good.
Well, yeah, so that's when casting if the character... So this would be say Zhongli, he uses his shield, then you get that attack boost. So if somebody... Because I've seen people do damage Zhongli. I've seen it. I I just went all into maxing HP. I have a 45,000 health HP Zhongli.
Whoa.
And he can do about 30k damage on his meteor, but I primarily went for HP shield so I can just have a really, really strong shield. It's crazy good. And I think a friend of ours has a 50k HP Zhongli. Like,
No consequences.
yeah, it's a really good
But
shield, but I've seen people do damage Zhongli, and that
yeah,
could definitely work.
could be nice. Um, unless you have anything more that you'd like to say, I think
I'm
we talked
excited
about
for the
all.
update.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. Yeah, it's gonna breathe a little bit of new life into the game. Not to say it was really dead, but
Yeah, it's been almost a year.
right.
September. It's been almost a year. I hope Inazuma is big. I hope it's a
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, ideally enough, it would probably be similar, if not maybe even larger than. I mean, of
oh
course, it's an
wow.
archipelago, so that would change a couple of things. But
Oh wow. I looked up the map. Wow, this
oh,
is
there's a
pretty
map.
big.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
send that my way when we're done.
If
Oh,
you
well,
just look
right
up
now, either
Inazuma
one.
map for anyone who's watching,
Yeah,
um, and we can
it sounds good. Sounds big.
yeah, this is a full size area. I think we're
Oh
gonna have
wow, yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at that.
yeah.
It's also vaguely Japan shaped.
Yeah. So here's what I'm sending you. It's right next. So it's across the water. You know, see
Oh
you can
wow, I
see.
didn't realize it was that far away. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it does make sense aside from like you sort of just see ships passing by, but
Yeah,
man, that is a
we're gonna get
distance.
there. I think we're getting there from Beto's ship. Beto's gonna take us there.
It's definitely neat.
Because
Well,
remember, she's right on
actually,
the those
right.
little islands. Those little
Hmm.
islands across outwards on the water from Dragonspine. Beto's ship is parked right out there.
Yeah, it would be nice really to have some more. How do you say more characters that exist in the game actually having some kind of story.
Yeah, Beto hasn't been in the story.
Found a pretty good.
Well, that
Found another map lead.
wasn't. Beto wasn't in the story for a while.
You like this map lead?
But Beto knows Kazuha, so we're at least now
Yeah.
getting some more Beto stuff. But yeah, no, this is gonna be a fun update. I'm excited.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be
let's
good.
see. Let me get the exact date for anyone who's curious.
By curious,
Ah! All right. July 21st. So that is Wednesday of next week.
7 days
again-
or 9 days. Sorry.
Yes. So that means once the Kazuha banner ends in 8 days and some amount of hours, we will be getting our update.
Yeah.
I am very excited.
It's gonna be good. But yeah.
All right.
Thanks everybody for listening, of course.
Yeah, and
whatever that's worth.
if you haven't tried Genshin Impact, I honestly, you don't have to put any money into it. Obviously, they want to make money somehow, but honestly, give it a try.
Yeah, I hate anime.
He does. He hates anime, and he likes the game. It's the world building is pretty good. The world design's pretty good. The developer team,
are dedicated.
They do care. They care.
Yeah,
about
at least to some degree.
To some degree. Because the developers aren't the ones making the financial decisions.
Oh, sure.
So honestly, the game developers, they seem like we've had like during the stream they said like there's game developers, they play their game.
Right.
They have people on their developing team that have completed Spiral Abyss. But yeah, give it a try. It's free to play, What do you have to lose? If you don't like it, that's fine. But like, what do you have to lose by giving it trying out, go explore something, see what you can do. But yeah.
On that note, once again, thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a good day if I didn't already say that.
Yeah.
I think I did. But and like and subscribe. No.
Hit that like button with your
if you are new
with your
maybe
toe.
Consider giving a subscribe if you want to hear more stupid conversations.
Yeah, we went on a little long today, but
we got a little longer than I expected on the OLED or the Windows, but
yeah, I don't know. We
stay on topic.
hey, we basically talked about the Quest 2 for a while.
Yeah. But here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Peace.
Yeah. So like if you liked it, dislike if you hated it,
Dislike if you liked it.
Dislike if you liked it as well, and maybe leave a comment of what you want to hear. Maybe if there's something interesting.
Comments would honestly be appreciated. I have no ideas in my head.
Yes. But yeah, we had a good amount of content for this week, but who knows? Maybe we'll be dry next week. So
Who knows? Maybe
yeah.
we'll stop. No. But yeah.
But yeah, hit that like and subscribe.
We already said